The story of this movie begins in a silent, isolated, and terrifying desert. For miles and miles, there is no sign of a single person, town, or settlement anywhere. In a place like this, getting lost is dangerous, but attracting the attention of the wrong person is far worse. Completely unaware of this chilling reality, our main character Nick is on a peaceful road trip with his beautiful wife, Laura. He's driving his luxury car down the long, empty highway while the two of them enjoy the journey together. Soft music is playing inside the car, and outside, the blazing desert sun stretches endlessly across the landscape. Everything feels calm and perfect. But during the drive, Nick loses focus for just a second. He turns toward Laura to say something, and that one tiny mistake becomes the beginning of a nightmare. Suddenly, a huge old pickup truck appears out of nowhere, speeding straight toward them in the wrong lane. Nick's heart nearly stops. Panic hits him instantly, and he jerks the steering wheel hard to the side to save their lives. By a mix of quick reflexes and pure luck, their car barely avoids a massive head-on collision. The pickup truck screeches to a stop on the road behind them. Nick is breathing heavily, his hands shaking from the shock. But since no crash actually happened, he decides not to start an argument. He calmly keeps driving, believing the danger is over. What he doesn't realize is that the worst nightmare of his life has only just begun. After driving for several more miles, Nick and Laura become exhausted and stop at an old desert gas station to refuel and take a short break. The heat is unbearable, scorching everything around them. Then Nick suddenly notices something that sends a chill down his spine. The same dirty old pickup truck is parked there. Its driver, a creepy-looking man named Earl, has long, greasy hair and an unsettling appearance that immediately feels wrong. Earl stares at Nick with a cold, hostile expression and walks over to him, mocking him harshly for his careless driving. Deep down, Nick knows he was partly at fault for losing concentration. Instead of escalating the situation, he quickly apologizes. Like any reasonable person, Nick has no intention of making an enemy in the middle of a deserted wasteland, especially with his wife beside him. Earl lets out a strange, disturbing laugh and walks away. Relieved, Nick and Laura get back into their car and leave the station, hoping the encounter is behind them. But their bad luck follows them like a dark shadow. Only a few miles down the road, the car's engine suddenly begins making a strange noise, and then dies completely. The car suddenly jerks to a stop right in the middle of the road. The heat is unbearable, and the air conditioning has completely died. Nick immediately pulls out his phone, hoping to call a mechanic or the police. But in this deserted area, there is absolutely no signal. The screen simply says, "No service." The same hands and fingers that, after millions of years of human evolution, have learned to swipe across smartphone screens at lightning speed are now completely useless in the middle of this scorching desert. Their expensive luxury car has become nothing more than a lifeless box of metal. It's the perfect reminder that no matter how much humans take pride in modern technology, nature and bad circumstances can make us helpless in an instant. Nick and Laura grow increasingly frustrated and hopeless. Then, through the cloud of dust ahead, they spot Earl's pickup truck coming toward them. Nick thinks maybe this man will finally help them. He waves for him to stop, but the truck speeds past them, deliberately kicking up dust as it goes. Whatever hope they had left begins to fade. A little later, another massive truck pulled over nearby. Nick quickly steps in front of it and manages to stop it. The driver's name is Red, and he appears to be a kind, decent, and well-mannered man. Red helps them by pushing their car to a safer spot on the side of the road. He tells Nick that there is a restaurant about 5 kilometers away where they can use a landline phone to call a tow truck. Nick doesn't want to leave his expensive car alone in the middle of nowhere. He's afraid someone might damage it, so he makes a difficult decision. Laura will go with Red in the truck to the restaurant and call for help, while Nick stays behind with the car and waits for them. Hours pass under the blazing sun. Sweat pours down his face, but neither Laura nor any help arrives. Nick becomes deeply anxious. Restless, he decides to inspect the engine himself. After a careful look, he discovers a wire inside the engine that has been completely disconnected and cut loose. The moment he reconnects with his own hands, the car starts instantly. That means there was never any serious mechanical problem at all. Someone had deliberately disconnected the wire. Nick's mind goes numb. A terrible feeling washes over him. The feeling that something is very wrong and incredibly dangerous. Without wasting a single second, he jumps into the car and races toward the restaurant at full speed. But when he arrives, the ground seems to disappear beneath his feet. Laura is nowhere to be found. Panicked, Nick asks the owner of the restaurant, but the man calmly tells him that he has never seen any woman matching Laura's description, and no truck has come there at all. Nick now realizes with chilling certainty that this is far more terrifying and much bigger than he ever imagined. Without wasting a second, he floors the accelerator and speeds toward the next small town, about 20 kilometers away. On the road, he suddenly spots Red's massive truck in the distance. Nick swerves his car in front of it, forcing Red to slam on the brakes and come to a stop. Nick jumps out and runs straight to Red. But the moment he asks about Laura, Red calmly and cunningly denies everything. He lies to Nick's face, claiming he never gave anyone a ride and doesn't even recognize Nick at all. Just then, by pure luck, a police patrol car passes by. Nick immediately waves the officer down and, in a panic, explains everything that has happened. The officer thoroughly searches the truck, even checking the back compartment, but there is absolutely no sign of Laura. Red smoothly tells the officer that Nick is probably confused from being out in the sun and must have mistaken his truck for someone else's. The officer explains that they cannot arrest a man without evidence and advises Nick to go to the next police station and file an official missing person report. When Nick arrives at the station, the sight inside sends a chill down his spine. The walls are covered with disturbing photographs of missing people. In that moment, he realizes something truly horrific is happening in this area, a deep and terrifying conspiracy. He also understands that the local police may not be much help because they themselves seem overwhelmed by these cases. Refusing to give up, Nick returns to the same roadside restaurant. There, a strange man in a hat named Al approaches him quietly and secretly reveals that he saw Laura get out of one truck and into another. According to Al, the men involved looked extremely dangerous. He even points Nick in the direction they went. But fearing for his own life, Al refuses to go to the police or get involved any further. Determined to save his wife, Nick heads down that lonely road by himself. After driving for a while, he finds the path blocked by large rocks. Suddenly, Earl comes roaring in with his pickup truck and violently cuts Nick off. Holding a deadly weapon in his hands, Earl starts advancing toward him with clear intent to attack. To save his life, Nick throws the car into reverse and speeds backward. And that's when a brutal and terrifying chase erupts on the empty road. Nick's old, primitive fight-or-flight instinct suddenly kicks in, the same instinct that once helped early humans survive wild animals. That ancient human fear and the desperate will to stay alive are now driving him forward. At the same time, Nick floors the gas and speeds away, trying to save his life. He eventually reaches the edge of a river with a steep and dangerous drop. When he realizes there is no way out and Earl is getting closer and closer, Nick makes a huge decision. He drives his car straight off the cliff and into the river below. The car crashes into the water with terrifying force and gets wedged between massive rocks. Without wasting a second, Nick jumps into the river and lets the powerful current carry him away, escaping the sight of those dangerous men. After reaching the riverbank, Nick hides in the bushes and watches them pull his expensive car out of the water. But suddenly, from behind, the same man wearing the hat, Al, hits Nick with a brutal blow. When Nick wakes up, he's completely shocked. Al is actually one of the criminals all along, a cunning accomplice who fed him a fake story just to trap him. Now the gang captures Nick and tells him that Laura informed them he has a large amount of money in his bank account. Desperate to save his wife at any cost, Nick decides to play along with the lie. When they ask him for the exact amount, his mind starts racing. He remembers that during their trip, Laura had seen a promotional prize of $90,000 in a store and jokingly mentioned it. Nick immediately says $90,000. The gang instantly believes him because Laura had given them the same number. At that moment, Nick learns another horrifying truth. The man he trusted the most, Red, is actually the mastermind behind the entire gang. It was Red who had secretly arranged for Nick's car to break down at the fuel station. Red gives Nick a chilling warning. If he wants to see his wife alive again, he must bring $90,000 from the bank immediately. Otherwise, Laura will disappear forever. Nick goes to the bank, but in reality, he has only a few $1,000s in his account. Thinking quickly, he creates a thick bundle of cash with real bills on the top and bottom and plain paper stuffed inside. Before leaving the bank, he secretly hides a sharp object in his sock for protection. Finally, Nick reaches the isolated meeting spot and hands the bundle to Earl, takes it without checking, then ties Nick's hands with ropes and forces him into the back of a pickup truck. A short distance later, Earl finally opens the stack of cash and takes a closer look. That's when he realizes Nick tricked him. He instantly explodes with rage. But before Earl can pull out his deadly weapon, Nick strikes him hard with a sharp object he had been hiding. A brutal life-or-death fight breaks out inside the truck. The two struggle violently, each trying to overpower the other. Using every bit of strength he has, Nick manages to snatch the weapon away from Earl and ties him tightly to the driver's seat. Nick forces him to reveal Laura's real location. At that exact moment, a police officer arrives while patrolling the area. Hoping to get help, Nick immediately drops his weapon and raises his hands. But Earl suddenly pulls out a second hidden weapon and attacks the officer without warning. Even though the officer is badly hurt, he fights back and shoots Earl, killing him on the spot. Nick quickly calls for an ambulance to save the officer's life. Then he picks up the weapon again and continues his desperate search for Red. On the way, Nick spots Red's truck parked at a service area. Instead of attacking directly, he quietly slips underneath the truck and hangs there unnoticed. Red drives through the entire night and eventually reaches his home. The next morning, he takes the truck to a huge warehouse nearby. Nick secretly climbs onto the roof of the warehouse. From above, he watches Al, Billy, and Red lock Laura inside a dark, hidden basement. Suddenly, Laura looks up and sees Nick hiding on the roof. Fear is still in her eyes, but now a spark of hope appears. She realizes her husband has come to save her. As soon as the gang leaves to get breakfast, Nick climbs down. But the basement is secured with a heavy lock that he cannot open. To get the key, Nick sneaks into Red's house through the back entrance. There, he tells Red's wife the horrifying truth about her husband, that he robs innocent people. Just then, Red's young child walks in holding a gun. Nick gently tries to calm the child down. But when Red's wife suddenly says something, Nick senses immediate danger. He quickly pushes the gun upward, and the accidental shot hits Billy instead. Taking advantage of the chaos, Al escapes. Nick immediately takes control of Red and his family. He gets the key from Red's wife, frees Laura from the basement, and then locks all of them inside so they cannot escape or try anything else. Now Nick and Laura have only one goal: get out alive. They search for the keys to a car parked outside. After a frantic search, they finally find the keys inside a large container. But just then, Al charges at them with a massive truck trying to kill them. Nick reacts instantly, starts the car, and speeds away. Al begins chasing them in a red car and repeatedly tries to ram them. Moments later, Billy also joins the chase in another vehicle. Thinking fast, Nick slams his car into the red car. The impact sends it flipping off the road, completely destroying it and ending Al's game forever. Billy meets a terrible fate as well when he crashes head-on into a large container coming from the wrong direction. Now only the gang leader, Red, is left. Red uses his heavy truck to launch one final terrifying pursuit. On a long, high bridge, he rams Nick's car with such force that it gets crushed against the bridge railing. At the same time, Laura's foot becomes badly trapped inside the car. Without caring about his own life, Nick jumps into the cab of Red's truck. A savage, deadly fight erupts between the two men. During the struggle, the truck loses control, smashes through the bridge railing, and ends up hanging over the edge. Red slips and falls onto the rocks below, seriously injured but still alive. Nick quickly returns and pulls Laura safely out of the car. Below them, Red is writhing in pain, but he's not dead yet. This time, Laura decides not to leave anything unfinished. She shifts the truck into gear, and the entire truck crashes down onto Red, killing him once and for all. With that, Red and his terrifying plans come to a permanent end. Nick and Laura survive the horrifying nightmare and finally escape alive. And that's where this terrifying survival story comes to an end. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more